beautiful souls. This is Quinn Curtis, and you're listening to Joyful Living. And man, do we have an epic show for you today. I am joined by one of my dear longtime friends and amazing soul, Pam Baumeister. And we even got so busy with all the amazing things that we wanted to talk about and share with you today, and everything that's coming up in Pam's heart to bring here, and that we had to say really quick, oh my goodness, we got to stop and hit record because we want to share this, have it all coming out before. So before I officially introduce Pam, let me just tell you a little bit about her, and then we'll bring Pam on and get going, and it's going to be epic. So Pam is from youth sought joy from creating things. In her adult life, she's been a creator on radio and the printed page, including being the editor of a major local magazine here. And throughout the years, her one passion was art. This is primarily self-taught artist. Oh dear, my reading skills are slacking today, Pam. That's tricky. Here we go. So Pam is primarily a self-taught artist who has found her stride with watercolor. She likes the untethered nature of watercolor because she says it reminds me how much of life is unplanned and spontaneous. Her sense of humor and ability to let go of what was originally planned continues to be challenged as she pursues more depth, sheer joy, and warmth in her paintings. Through the years, she has found that her best models for drawing and painting have been her four spunky, unpredictable, and elusive daughters. She continues to make an effort to see them and capture their pure and raw beauty, and has a vision for all parents to see their children this way. Pam continues to keep her eyes open to the world of adventure and playful moments, especially of children at play, that she can capture on a crisp piece of watercolor paper. Pam, welcome officially to Joyful Living.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Quinn. I'm so thrilled to be here and to be celebrating the fact that you have a successful podcast. And so many people are listening to you, and it makes me so proud to just have seen your progress and how much your podcast has changed lives and brought joy and happiness into so many people's lives, including my own. I listen all the time. So thank you so much for having me. It's just such an honor to be on your show. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I'm so grateful for you to be here. And I was just thinking as I was reading your introduction that, Pam and I have known each other for years and years. So we've had most of our professional journey that we've been friends throughout, a lot of it at least. And we met originally when Pam was the editor of Wasatch Woman magazine. And she hired me to do their food photography, and we became good friends as a result of that. And I was even just thinking about a lot of the conversations you and I used to have back then about, women and business and creating big and making an impact. And it's so interesting because while the work we were doing then was wonderful and heartfelt and absolutely, great, it's so fun to see where both of our paths have evolved into like I almost don't even recognize from this bio to like that bio, because do you know what I mean? I'm just like,
it's kind of a cool evolution, like you reinvent yourself along the path of your life. You start in one place and you think, I think this is a great trajectory. And you think that you're going to continue in that trajectory. And then something shifts, and then you discover a new piece of yourself, or you uncover a piece that's been lying dormant for years and years and years and years. Like for me, I've been doing art since I was a little kid and never really showed that piece of myself to anyone. In fact, I get so many people that I've known for years and years that have said, I didn't know that you did art. And I was like, well, of course you didn't. I never showed that to anyone, I was just like, I'll just keep this to myself. And of course, my husband's been telling me for years, Pam, you really should do something with that. And, as wives, we tend not to believe our husbands as much as we believe everyone else.
So true.
And then when enough people say that, then you finally like, oh yeah, maybe I should. And then you tell your husband, and your husband's like, oh, I've been telling you this for years. Which, credit to all the husbands out there for the patience that they have with us wives who don't listen and don't believe. But I finally did, and I'm owning it full out, and I'm living it full out, and it's fantastic. So my life is different, but a lot of the things that I celebrated back when you and I first met, I celebrate women. I celebrate them being happy.
Yeah.
I still celebrate all that stuff. And the stuff that I'm doing now, it completely celebrates that and completely honors that. So
yeah,
it's not that much different. I'm still the same Pam that you know.
I know. I think if anything, I mean, like our hearts were maybe, more entranced with the big things, the exciting big things you could do in business, which are still great and amazing. But now I know both of our hearts are really anchored to the magic at home.
Mm-hmm. And there is so much magic around us, right within these walls that we live in, and within the people that we deal with every day, that we help, that we serve, that we love, that we, get annoyed with. All of that stuff is where it's at, man. I mean, that's where it's at. So it takes a long time to finally come full circle and realize, oh yeah.
That was
anyway.
Yeah. It's so true. Well, man, we could just dive in right there. But I do have a favorite question that I love to ask all my guests, which I feel like you've already touched on, but I'd love to hear some more depth of just describing what's joyful living look like to you. And we all have our own flavors, and that's one of the biggest places where we get a little bit off track, is we keep thinking, well, joyful living looks like X, Y, and Z that everybody tells me it looks like, or I need to have the massive house or the certain business level or whatever it might be, and we don't necessarily define joy for ourselves. So what is Pam Baumeister's flavor of joy?
Quinn, I thought about this question beforehand because I listened to your show and I know you asked this question. And I had an answer all prepared, but whoosh, it's gone right now. So I'm just going to go, I shoot from the hip, as you know. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to shoot from the hip, and I'm going to say joyful living to me is putting a smile on your face, even if you don't feel like smiling, and faking it. And even when you don't feel like things are going that great, because I think that sometimes we get this idea that we have to have, like you said, certain things in our life in order to be happy. But the fact of the matter is that we can be happy in whatever circumstances we're in. And my husband and I, long time ago, before we had kids, we went to Indonesia, and these people were so poor. You've been to poor countries.
Yeah.
But yet they were so happy. They had so little, but they were so happy. And so I've thought about that on and off over the years and thought, if they can be happy on $1,500 a year, I can most definitely be happy with my circumstances, with all of the abundance that I have, and with the wonderful things that I have. I mean, I sometimes get so caught up. I think we all get caught up in looking at somebody else. Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is that everyone has something to be grateful for and something to be happy for. And I think gratitude, for me, my own flavor of joy, is when I can look at my life and be grateful, and to see all of the things to be grateful for, to see the hand of God in my life in so many ways, even when I feel like things are going cruddy, Yeah. I think that is really my flavor of joy. And I have to remind myself of that. You got to be grateful. There's so much to be grateful for, Mm-hmm. I'm alive. I can move. I can smile. I can laugh. I can hear. I can see. There's so many things in my life that I can be grateful for. And I have four great kids and a wonderful husband. So it's good. Life is good.
Life is good. Amen.
And good friends that I've been in touch with for, 8+ years, who've seen me through, through babies and thick and thin.
I know. Like literally, like we're
literally thick and thin.
Oh my gosh, I love that answer. And I was just thinking that if you wouldn't mind sharing, Pam, I know personally, but you didn't necessarily include it, so I'm just gingerly going here. But you have always impressed me over the years, because you are one fierce, strong woman, and you have been through so much intensity over the years. And it just, so I would love if you wouldn't mind sharing maybe some of the key things that were maybe really big struggles with joy that you then kind of came through. Because I think that as you're saying, like, oh, I just choose it, or this is my flavor, I think it's really important for the listeners to really understand this isn't coming from a place of, you know, Pam's got life all figured out and she's just, everything is perfect for Pam. It always has been. It's not that way at all. You've really made a conscious effort, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Well, okay, I think I know what you're referring to, so I will. So, okay, in September of 2013, actually it was like July-ish, something funky was happening with my eye, and I didn't know what was going on. I had just turned 40, so watch out, turning 40. And I had just turned 40, and I felt like, oh my gosh, I've never had problems with my eyes. I never, I never even had to wear contact lenses or glasses or anything. I have 20/20 vision or 20/15, and so I went through a whole litany of tests to several doctors and finally got an MRI. And in September of 2013, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So I thought it was a mistake, and I thought it was ridiculous because I live a very healthy lifestyle. I haven't had any processed sugar for almost 9 years. In fact, I think that was around the time that I met you. I see all that sweet went out and the sweet of Quinn came in. So
oh my goodness, that's super
so I didn't need any sweet. But I had given up sugar. I decided that I was going to live super healthy, and then all this stuff happened. And I remember having a very tearful conversation with my mom as I was driving home from the neurologist after my diagnosis. And first of all, when I went to the neurologist, I thought, this is ridiculous. He's going to kick me out and be like, you're fine. That's just, it was just stress or something. So I even told my husband to go on a business trip, because my husband was like, well, I can cancel the business trip and come with you to the doctor to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, it's going to be fine. My sister decided to come with me. She's a saint. And we were both just bawling and bawling and bawling in the lobby. And she, she knew, she said, I knew that you had it, Pam, before we even went in there, but I didn't want to say anything. Anyway, so I'm crying on the way home, talking to my mom, telling her, and I'm like, Mom, how is this fair? I live a healthy life. I do what's right. I'm honest. I'm eating right. I'm taking care of my body. How is this even right? This should happen to somebody who's, boozing it up, smoking, 2 packs a day, screaming at their kids and, driving over the speed limit, like living to the max. and so, and she said, well, Pammy, my mom calls me Pammy, I think that this has happened to you because you're living the way that you should be living, because you can figure it out and you're strong enough to figure it out. And I thought, yeah, whatever. People tell you that stuff when you get diagnosed with some crazy, disease. And you don't, like I said before, you don't really believe them. You don't really believe them until you go through enough experiences to look back and say, oh yeah, I think they were onto something there. So, anyway, so I guess what it's taught me is that I have bad days that I feel sorry for myself, or I feel like, when's the other shoe going to drop? Like, I'm fine right now. My right hand is tingly, and sometimes my knee gives out when I'm tired, or my body gets tingly in weird ways. But other than that, I feel really pretty darn good. And I'm still taking super good care of myself. But I think what it's taught me is that I can't wait for something great to happen to me. I need to find the great things and see the great things, because there's great things already in my life, and there's great things coming to me. And so if I am anticipating bad things, then bad things will come. But if I'm anticipating the great things, then the great things will come. And then working to make those great things come faster. It's like, you know, when you've been pregnant in your life, you know, in 9 months, that baby's going to come. And so you can look forward to that day. And I think it's the same thing with good things in your life. You can look forward to those days because you're putting in the work that is necessary to birth those dreams, to give birth to those dreams. And so that's what I just decided at that time. I think within the first year or two, I just said, you know, I've always wanted to do art. I've talked about this for years and years and years and years. Am I going to go to my deathbed? Who knows when that's going to be, first of all. Am I going to go to my deathbed not knowing what that's like? Because nobody else is responsible for that. Either you plan and design your life or someone else will. Yeah. So that's when I decided that I'm going to figure out what my purpose is. And I think you and I have talked about this, finding your purpose. I'm going to figure out what my purpose is, and I'm going to pursue it. I'm going to pursue it like a starving person pursues a good meal. And that's what I've been doing. And it's been a lot of work, but I'm starting to see the fruits of that pursuit. And it's been so amazing. And it tastes so amazing, because hunger is the best cook.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
You know?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I just felt like mic dropping moments with you sharing that, of just can't wait for great things to happen. And it's so funny. I know you and I were getting a little bit off track in the beginning because we were like just catching up on where our kids are at again. It seems like every time we connect, oh my gosh, they've grown significantly again. And I know you were mentioning how that is like a freight train of time going by so fast with our kids. And so what have you seen with that you're really using to embrace the time you have with them while they're in your home, or the messiness even? And
okay, so this is really still very raw. So if I start to cry, then I'm just going to apologize right now, because I wear my emotions on my sleeve. So I recently sent my 18-year-old to college. Now, my oldest daughter is 21. She's not gone to college. She's taken a different path. And so there hasn't been really a clear, like, I'm moving, you know, it's kind of like been sort of gradual. But with my 18-year-old, it's been like, boom, she's gone. And so at that moment, when I dropped her off at college and I came home, I was fine. I didn't even cry when I said goodbye to her. But as I was driving home, I heard a song on the radio that she used to play on the piano, and I was just like, waterworks, you know. Mm-hmm. And I just realized that, holy crap, that was the fastest 18 years I have ever experienced. It went by so fast. And I looked at my younger kids, because I have, you know, the oldest is 21, then 18, then 13, then 7, just to give your listeners an idea of the span of parenthood that I have. And I look at my younger girls and I'm saying to myself, you better not look away. Like, you better pay attention. You know, you better know their friends, get to know all their activities, ask them questions about all their school, find out how you can participate more in their life instead of just sending them off and doing your own thing, which is what I did for my first two. Yeah. And participating in their lives, because you are their life. It's not, I'm going to send you off to school or send you off to this activity, and then I'm going to do my own thing just because I won't have any other time for myself. This is part of who I am. They're part of who you are. Because when you send them off, it's not like a cut and dried thing. It's like you feel this is like a deep aching feeling that you get. And it's sad, but it's happy at the same time. I don't know how to explain it. because you want to see them progress. You want to see them grow up. You want to see them succeed and learn and even stumble. But you also feel like, come back to me. Let me hold you. Let me hug you. Let me, I think I was thinking about my 21-year-old, and I think I had a dream. I think it was a couple of months ago. This still brings me to tears every time I think about this dream. So I had a dream that she was 5 again, and I was tickling her, and we were laughing, and it was the best dream ever. And I didn't want to wake up, and I woke up, and I was like crying and crying and crying, and I was like, what happened? She's 21. We're not having tickle fights anymore. We're having discussions about, can I please not be a cosigner on your car anymore? Because I want my credit back. Like, that's the kind of conversations I'm having. I don't want those conversations. I want the tickle fights. And I can't go back. You cannot go back. And that's what drove me to this idea that I incorporate in my art. That kids grow up fast. Time goes by fast. You will feel guilty one way or another. You're going to feel guilty that you let that time go by. But my pursuit is for my art collectors and for the people that commission me to do art is to create these pieces that help them celebrate these moments in time, whether it's a tickle fight or a family vacation or, or gathering around a Christmas tree or gathering around the family dog or, playing in the backyard. Those moments are the moments that you will always treasure. And it's easier to treasure them when you actually have something to look at. And it helps you to remember, guess what? I might not be a perfect parent. And I was a perfect parent at that moment. And that's the moment that I'm going to focus on, So kids grow up. Kids grow up. And your son is 12. And before you know it, he's going to be 19 and leaving. Or 18 and leaving. And then you're going to be like, what the heck happened?
I know. It's so fascinating that we're having this conversation right at this moment because I just mentioned briefly before we got on, but my grandmother is actually in the hospital right now and she is passing away and it'll be the next 24 to 48 hours. I got to spend, lots of time with her yesterday and then we're going back tonight. And it's really, I think that death and time are such like our most powerful teachers here, because without them, we wouldn't savor those things, we would just let it go by. And so it was just really fascinating as I was thinking back on all the memories and looking at like, wow, this book is complete now. Like she lived that whole life and it's done. And even all my memories, there won't be more now. Like, and you just, I just keep saying, to my family and even to her that just death always comes too soon. It's never, we're never ready for it. Right. And it's the same with our kids growing and just life happening. And so I think that, I love that that's your message and your mission with your art, because I feel like so many of us are walking around feeling that we have so much more time than we actually do, like time to make it up or time to make it right or time to whatever. And that really is also like a major pursuit with this podcast of, hey, let's not wait for joyful living because we're missing it. It's happening right now,
Yeah. Well, one of the things I love about what you do on Facebook is that you post those things that you tell us about your joy right now. Like, what are you experiencing in joy right now? Because guess what? If your grandmother weren't in the hospital, would you drop everything to go visit her? No. I think that's what happens to us.
It's so true.
We don't drop everything for the people that we love unless something like that is happening. And I'm not judging or anything like that.
No, it's so true.
But I mean, I have a similar experience with my father-in-law. He'd been dying for 20 years. I mean, I think you and I have talked about this.
Yeah.
And he lived in Chicago and I live in Utah. And I felt so supremely guilty when he died. And I felt like I could have done more. I could have done more. And I felt so bad. And I felt so, so guilty. And he actually visited me, and I mean, this sounds crazy, but it's really happened. He visited me, and I communicated with him and said, I'm so sorry. And he said, it's okay. It's okay. It's all good. And so I realized, you know what? I'm going to do my best to make it right. Like just try and make every moment right. And if you make a mistake, just pick yourself back up and try to do it right the next time. Because nobody's perfect. And you just, like Miley Cyrus says, nobody's perfect. I got to work it.
Oh my gosh, that's the best quote.
I had to bring something funny in because we're talking about death. My goodness. But seriously, though, like you can't do everything right at all times.
No.
I mean, I was raising kids, and my husband and my father-in-law's dying in Chicago. I made choices, and maybe they weren't the right choices, but I made the choices the best I could do at the time. Mm-hmm. And, same thing with kids. When your kids grow older and you feel guilty about maybe the times that you yelled at them a little too much, or maybe you were too hard on them, or maybe you didn't listen to them when they were trying to tell you something, or maybe they were trying to get your help and you didn't have time for them. I mean, all of those things are the things that build up on parents, especially I think moms feel really guilty about that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I know from personal experience that you look back and you're like, man, I could have been better. I just could have been better. And instead of dwelling on that stuff where you could have been better, focus on the stuff that you were really good at. Focus on that stuff, because otherwise you're going to beat yourself up and you're not going to have that joy. Yeah. You're going to spend so much time
regret,
banging your head, and regret and banging your head against a wall. You wish you could turn back time. You can't. Mm-hmm. And you wish you could have been a better mom, but you can't. You can only do going forward. You can't do going back. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Well, and it's interesting too, because like, quite frankly, my grandma we have a lot of Scotch-Irish blood, and she's not saying anything against those cultures. I love them, but she can be really intense and totally a spitfire. And so it's so beautiful to see as this process of her passing comes that everybody's making peace with that, and everybody's just remembering the good times. And I think that this is, largely true when somebody is just trying. Like, we know she's trying and she's doing her best, and she's it is what she is, but it's been really sweet to see just how much grace there actually is in our relationships. And I love the idea of seeing about exploring that more. It's like certainly not taking advantage of people's grace, but just remembering that more of, you know what, my kids, they could forgive me so fast for all that other crap that's ever happened. And they'll forgive me because of where I'm at right now, which is, I love you. I'm here for you. I see you. I value you. That's where I am right now. And my intention is to stay there. But you know what I mean? It's wild. So,
and also, your kids can forgive you like that if they choose to. If they choose not to, then it's very, very hard for you to forgive yourself.
That's true.
Because you can relive those moments where you could have done something different, or you could have said something different, you could have made a different choice, or you could have taken the time to think about something before you said anything, which is classic Pam. And I'm hopefully getting better at that. Pause for a second and think and then speak. But learning how to forgive yourself and learning how to just, I'm gonna move forward. Just choose to move forward and let things go, because so much of life, like I said, the medium of watercolor is spontaneous and unpredictable. Mm-hmm. Life is spontaneous and unpredictable. You sometimes can't direct where you want it to go. Just like our careers, you can't predict what people are going to do. You can only control what you think and what you focus on. Yeah. And so I choose to focus on joy. I choose to focus on happiness. And some days I do it better than others, but I really think that we are meant to have joy and to have it more abundantly. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
We're meant to have joy.
Mm-hmm.
We're created for joy. Our bodies were created for joy. The world was created for joy. And that's really the whole purpose.
Amen. I think we know the like struggle and pain and our ways so well that it's time for a lot of us to start to graduate from that to a degree and really learn the lessons of joy. Like, what does actually look like, you know? And just a note on the kid conversation, I love the phrase that always gives me so much comfort is that we mess up our kids in perfect ways, like unintentionally. And I'm like, that's a big thing to see with my kids developing is like, oh, okay, I guess I get to play a role in that part of their wounding that's gonna then help them develop and learn and grow. And I can't, you're right, like you can't change it, but you can only do your best, only focus on what you desire to create more of. So it certainly takes a lot of, pressure off.
I went to my aunt before I had kids and I was asking her parenting advice and I said, I just don't want to make the same mistakes my parents made. And she wisely said, oh, don't worry, you'll make your own.
Yeah.
And believe me, I have. I've blazed new territory in the mistake-making parenting category. So, but that, I mean, if you can laugh about it and find some sort of reason to laugh and be happy, then you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine and they're going to be fine. It may be a struggle, but everything's going to work out at the end. And if it's not working out, then it's not the end. So
I love it. So tell us, Pam, a little bit more about what your daily joy practice looks like.
So in the morning, I've been waking up super early in the morning, and if my teenage version of myself knew that, they would probably flip because I hated waking up early in the morning as a teenager, but I love it right now. So waking up early in the morning, and I start with prayer and meditation, and I study my scriptures, and then after I do all of that, then I set my timer, turn my light on at my art desk, put my headphones on, I listen to classical music usually, and I draw or paint or whatever, and I set my alarm so that I can be done when my kids wake up, and then we all get ready together, and then I go to work because I still work a full-time job. And until I'm ready to make that big leap and head to that in that direction, then that will be my practice. And I'll actually, I think, even when I'm not working full time for someone else, I will practice that because it brings me a sense of focus and it brings me a sense of direction. And it also invites a higher power into my life so I can see my day with a perspective that I wouldn't have normally got on my own. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah.
So focusing on the time to be centered and the time to connect with my spirituality and a time to connect with my creativity, those are the best ways to start my day. And it always makes me happy. I always feel joyful afterwards. I wake my kids up with a smile and a tickle fight. I guess you can tell I like tickling.
Yeah, like I'm gonna watch out for this next time I'm with you in person. No?
I know.
Now we need more tickle fights in this world. I am a fan too. Man, well, I love that, and I love the connection that you've drawn with how that really infuses your day with joy, and affects how you react and respond to your kids. I think this is one of the biggest secret pieces is that, especially with what you were saying earlier about we can't wait for great things to happen. I think I lived a lot of years, I don't know if you can relate to this also, where I thought like, oh, motherhood is so hard, doing life is so hard. And one day when I'm finally like in front of the Eiffel Tower taking my picture, like I'll know I've arrived and like I'll be able to be happy when those kinds of good things are happening. It was a really naive approach when I was younger, and it's so, and I kind of expected everybody else or my life to fill my bucket. right? But
Mm-hmm,
and learned,
mm-hmm.
as I know you have as well, that it's just, it doesn't get filled by anybody but us.
Yeah. And you know, the other thing is that as moms, we set the tone for our house.
Yeah.
We're responsible. If nobody's happy in the house, it's your fault. And I don't want to say it's your fault in a like a negative, you should blame yourself and feel guilty. But I want moms to understand that they are the leaders.
Mhm.
They're the leaders, they're the joy leaders of their house. And
Oh,
if they find the reason to be happy, then their children will find a reason to be happy. They set the tone. They set the mood, they set the tone. And if we as moms find joy in our everyday, then we can show our children that that's not a hard thing to do. It's really not. I mean, there's there in the Bible, in Proverbs, it talks about a virtuous woman. What does a virtuous woman do? And she does so many things for other people, but she also does wonderful things for herself. She
mhm.
wears purple, she adorns herself, she takes care of herself, she makes herself look beautiful, and she gathers things and she makes things happen. And it's just such a perfect way to describe as women how much we have so much power in
Mhm.
the world. We have so much power in the world, and it all starts in our homes. We gather things, we bring people together, we bring wonderful things in, we bring mood in, we take care of ourselves, we set the tone for our children to see how to be joyful. We set the example for joy, and if we're not doing it, then we need to figure out how to do it. And
Mhm.
it's really not hard. It's really not hard.
Yeah. Yeah, my husband, he's kind of a stay-at-home dad in our situation. And it's been fun as we've been, doing this for a couple years, but he's just starting to wake up to the realization of like, oh, like when my kids are freaking out, that doesn't mean I have to, like, and he's starting to recognize
Yeah.
like, oh, that really upset me because something about their behavior was triggering a pain response in me that I was like, ouch, when you act that way, I feel like I must be a bad dad instead of just my kids are just acting that way. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting to try to help separate that so that you help them understand as well, like, well, joy isn't always from the outside. In fact, it rarely is. It's usually from the inside out.
Mhm, mhm. And if we're not feeling joy, then we need to claim it
Yeah.
because our it's there for the taking. It's there. It's abundant. It's like air. If you choose to take tiny little sips of air, then you're going to feel crappy, number 1. You're going to feel dizzy. You're going to feel, you're going to feel just small and incapable of doing things. But if you take big, huge, deep breaths of air, because it's there for you to take,
Mhm.
then you're going to feel good. You're going to feel whole. You're going to feel abundant. You're going to feel energetic. There's a whole, it's there. There's so
Yeah.
much air. And
Yeah.
you can't, if you take tiny, if anybody out there has ever had, my husband had pneumonia, so we've talked about this. If you've ever had any sort of breathing problem or any sort of pneumonia or any sort of airway problem, you know what it's like to not be able to take a big, deep gulp of air.
Mhm.
It's so wonderful because it's there for taking. We don't have to ask for it. We just have to open our mouths and let it come in. And it's the
Receive.
same way with joy. You have to see that it's around you, and all you have to do is breathe it in because
Mhm.
it's there.
Yep. Even in
Even if we don't see it, you
even
don't
in
see air.
transition. Yep. Even
Yeah.
messy, even if, yeah, it's amazing. Oh man. So like, yeah, just high fives on that. I completely love that and agree. Virtual high five. Oh my gosh, well, our time is just blown by, but I did want, if you wouldn't mind, sharing some of your thoughts about embracing our God-given talents and sharing them with others. This feels like another really key part of your joy journey and what you've been embracing lately. Do you have any wisdom to share with the listeners?
I think that for me, because I didn't share what I had been given for so long because I thought I wasn't thought it wasn't good enough.
Mm.
I think that I heard someone say, and I think this was the moment, it was actually, she became my mentor, one of my mentors. I heard her say, you don't have to wait for anyone to tell you that you're good enough, because you already are. And
Mm.
so if you're doing something creatively because you love it, that means you're good enough to do it. And it
Mm.
doesn't matter what the critics say, and it doesn't matter what anyone else says. You are good enough and bright enough and strong enough and creative enough and amazing enough
Mm.
to follow your heart and your creativity. I mean, I always wanted to be an artist that could paint children having fun and being joyful, and so I just decided that I'm going to do it. I'm going to dedicate myself to making these connections and this inspiration for other people, because that joy that I feel inside when I make those things, it's not just for me. It's not. It's for it's for anyone and everyone that wants to see it and wants to participate in it, and people that want to buy it, or people that want to look at it, or there is an element of service and creativity. And
Mm.
if you're willing to share your creativity with others, then you are serving in the highest way that possible, because you're not just keeping it to yourself. And I feel now that it wasn't just fear, it was also selfishness. And our fear sometimes is selfishness.
Mm.
If you look at it like that, fear can be selfish. I don't want to be hurt. I don't want someone to say it's not good enough, or I don't like it, or whatever.
Mm.
People are going to say that anyway. So you might as well share it, right?
Right. Oh, I love it so much, Pam. Oh my goodness. I really appreciate you sharing that. I feel like that is so valuable and just really touched my heart. So thank you.
Thank you.
I know that a lot of people listening are super intrigued about this art and capturing joy and that kind of a thing. I would love to give you the opportunity to just describe what that looks like, for if any of you are wanting to work with Pam on some level and have her help you capture some of the joy that's happening in your life. Yeah, Pam's a Jedi here. And
Oh, thank you so much, Quinn. That's so kind of you. I typically what happens if someone wants to work with me and have me create a custom piece of art for them, which I do a lot of, they can just reach me on Instagram, and my Instagram is Pam_Baumeister, which I'm guessing you're going to put the spelling of my last name.
Notes, yeah.
Or you can see my website at PamBaumeister.com. But you can reach out to me in those ways. You can also find me on Facebook, Pam Baumeister Artist. And you can reach out to me, and typically what I'll have people do is I'll have them find photos. And the photos that make the most sense for art are photos that they're not children looking at the camera posing. It's usually a candid shot where they're playing, or they're looking at something, or they're jumping into a mud puddle, or they're staring at something, or they're playing in the ocean. And so they're candid moments, and they're usually stuck on your iPhone, and they're never going to see the light of day. And we need to elevate them and put them in a sacred place of, something that lives a little bit longer than just a picture on your iPhone that you maybe share on Instagram or whatever. So what people will do is they'll reach out to me, they'll send me some photos. Once we find a photo, then we pick a size that will work for them. And then I will take that painting and that art picture inspiration and turn it into a painting. And usually I will change something about it, or, colors or whatever. But it takes about 2 weeks to a month, depending on how busy I am, to finish. And right now is a busy time for me because I'm doing a lot of stuff for Christmas, but I'm fitting them in, and that's the thing about creativity. You fit it into the cracks of your life. And if you're not fitting if you're not fitting creativity into the cracks of your life, then you're going to get to the end of your life and say, man, I'm really glad that I watched that entire season of Stranger Things, but I probably could have been doing something else with my time. I don't watch any TV. I just know that a lot of my friends have been watching it, and they're asking me, and they're like, "Oh, did you watch it?" And I'm like, "No, sorry."
Painting.
I've been painting. But anyway, so that's how I do it. So I'll connect with them, we'll find a photo, then we'll move forward, and then I'll create a piece of art. And then I'll put it in a nice matted a nice mat, and they can pick out their own frame, because I'm not in that business of trying to find a frame that matches your decor. But it's pre-done, so it will fit nicely into most frame sizes, so you don't have to get it custom framed unless you want to. So so that's how it works. And you know what, Quinn, it's the best, because when I deliver a piece of art to someone and I see the tears coming out of their eyes, and it just is so amazing. So amazing to see and hear how they feel when they look at a piece of art of their kids. It's just the most fulfilling thing that I've ever done in my whole entire life, except for maybe my children and my marriage. But it's pretty high up there, and it's an amazing feeling of joy that I get from watching them, and how much joy it brings them. It just is so cool. It's addictive.
I know. I'm so glad. I can see it and feel it from you. And I know that I don't want you to share your pricing here, because I know that that's kind of a custom thing, but I just want to encourage the listeners that you might hear the custom piece and all of that and be a little intimidated, but don't be. Reach out to Pam. She's very affordable and approachable, and it's like amazing what she can do and create for your home that's really going to be a treasure and a keepsake forever, right? So.
And I'm going to say one more thing, Quinn, if I may. Artists that work through galleries, the galleries typically take about 50% of what the artists get. And it's sad to me that this happens, but it happens. And I don't work through galleries because of that reason, because I'm in business for myself. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't be able to do what I do if I were giving away 50+%. I know one place that takes 50%, and the agent takes another 50%, and the artists that I've talked to get 5% from the agent. So,
oh my word.
So, I mean, it's really, if you want to get a piece of original art, it's best to approach the artists themselves. And believe me, we're people, and we're totally approachable. I mean, I will work with anyone, and I celebrate, even if it doesn't work out, I will celebrate and be friends with whoever wants to reach out to me, because motherhood, parenthood is a beautiful calling, and it is so beneficial when we share our joys. It's so beneficial. We help each other in so many ways, not just through art, through sharing our stories and sharing our happinesses and our sadnesses, and it enriches all of us, I think.
Absolutely.
So,
thank you for sharing. I love that. And yes, if you're listening, we will have we do have all of those links in the show notes, so you can check it out super easily and see it there. Again, that's pambaumeister.com. So Pam, in closing, I have some rapid fire questions for you. Are you ready for this action?
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay. All right.
Bring it on.
So the first is joy with your friends.
Joy with my friends means laughing and crying, usually at the same time. I love to laugh and cry with my friends. It's the best. Just that connection where you're so willing and comfortable to be vulnerable with each other that you don't mind if snot's dripping down your face, your mascara's running, it just doesn't matter, because you love each other so much that you're totally safe and happy with each other, that you can share the moments that make you laugh, the moments that make you, laugh so hard you snort, the moments that make you cry so much you have snot dripping down your face. We've done it.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Anything with moisture coming out of your face. That's what joy with friends is for me.
Oh my gosh, that makes me so happy. Okay, so then I've got to get focused here. Okay, so and then I know you have how many sisters, Pam?
I have 4 sisters.
Okay, so I'm gonna add in a different one, like with joy with your extended family, with your sisters. Yeah.
Okay. Well, laughing and crying at the same time. Again, love that. I think for me, it's like just being super goofy and crazy together, and just like, you know, those people. I'm very close to all my siblings. I have 4 brothers and 4 sisters, but
I forgot that.
Laughing and goofing around. Yeah, I have so many. We have so many goofy, silly times together. But the times where you can go from sharing, oh my gosh, can you believe this happened? Laugh, 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 snort, 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 to, oh my gosh, can you believe this happened? And cry, 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 cry. And like that stuff is really what is like, it's the super glue. It's the super glue that keeps you together. The goo that comes out of your face. I'm sorry, I keep focusing on this. This is not professional or at all sophisticated, but it's the super goo is the super glue of relationships, of your friends and your family. So,
Mike,
if you can, yeah.
No, I love it so much. I love this. So, okay. Oh, that's so fun. How about joy in your intermediate family with your kiddos and your husband?
My immediate family?
Yeah.
Joy with my family means that, again, we can be super vulnerable with each other, and that we can be talking about something serious, and somebody says something that's really ridiculous, and then we can all just bust up and start laughing. And the laughter really is the thing. Laughter is the thing. If there is laughter, then those are the best. Those are the best moments. And so it's like family mealtime is super, super important to me, because those are the times that we laugh and we talk about the best things that happen to us during the day, and the worst, like my kids I do have some kids that focus on the worst. So we do talk about that. One of my daughters said one time, we said, how's it going? And she's like, so far, so bad. And so that's become like a family, it's like a family thing that we now say that makes everybody laugh. So far, so bad. So family mealtime and laughing. Those are the best times.
I love it. How about joy with your spouse?
Joy with my spouse. Again, I think the laughter. I mean, I married my husband because he made me laugh. And he's not a super serious guy. He will get serious when necessary, but he makes me laugh. And I tend to be more serious, if you can believe it. And when he makes me laugh, it's just like someone has poured like a warm, warm oil all over my body, or I don't know how to explain it. It's like a warm feeling. It's just like it's a release. It's a letting go. Like you let go of the seriousness, and you let go of all the heaviness in your life. And sometimes I'm not a stay up later anymore, but sometimes we'll stay up late and we'll talk and laugh and talk and laugh. And it's just the best. I'm telling you, it's like a slumber party with your best friend where you laugh. And it's just, he's really my champion. He really is. And he makes me laugh, and he helps me get through the times where I take myself so seriously. I started skiing again last year, and as someone with MS, I was really worried. I was so worried because sometimes my leg will go numb and I'm like, am I going to careen over the edge of a cliff and kill myself just because I want to ski? And I was so cautious, Quinn. I was heading down the mountain, super cautious, legs gripped in fear, in the snowplow position. And I got to the bottom of the hill and I sat with my head in my hands and I was like, I can't do this. I just can't do this. And my husband, in his encouraging way, and I think he was just like teasing me or something. He was like, well, Pam, you got to do it because we bought season passes. So we're going to be doing this. He did something that made me laugh, but it also helped me realize I'm out here to have fun. And if I'm gripping my body in fear and in so much intensity that I'm not able to have fun, then what is the point? Why did I spend all this money? I'm here to have fun. And so as soon as I made that realization and he helped me, I had so much fun. My MS did not bother me. In fact, it gave me more energy. I have found that anything that scares me and I do it, it gives me more energy. So it's like the counterintuitive thing. You do something that you're scared of, but you do it with the intent for joy and intent for fun. And it will bring, the rewards will be way more than you think you're going to get. And so my husband helps me. He helps me find that stuff. He really does. It's amazing. And I'm so grateful. We just celebrated 24 years of marriage. Can you believe it?
Congratulations. Holy smokes.
So laughter is a big part of that.
Yeah. Like, that is what the super goo that held you together.
That's the super goo.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So good. How about joy in solo time? Which we kind of touched on maybe, but yeah.
Yeah, we did. I think joy in solo time is just, for me, it really requires focus. And if I can focus myself enough to start and finish, then I feel accomplished. And I know that maybe sounds like I'm just checking it off the list, but sometimes in solo time, we like we're scrolling through our Instagram feed and liking all the posts. And instead of spending time doing something that's actually going to make you feel like you accomplished something, So for me, it's focus. When I'm by myself, if I focus completely on either taking care of myself or focusing on my art or focusing on my meditation or focusing on my prayer, or I keep a journal or focusing on my journal time, that is what brings me joy, is focus.
I love that. Okay. And then bringing it all wrapping full circle, joy with the divine.
Joy with the divine. I took this from Kelly King Anderson. She shared with that she writes letters to God and receives answers. And so I've been doing that since I heard her share that. And that to me has brought me so much joy and so many lessons. It has been a powerful force in my life. When I really listen and, like I said, focus, then I am able to see a little bit past where I would normally see when I focus and I'm listening and I'm taking the time. It's really about taking the time and making that your first thing you do every day. And when I don't do it, I feel it. I feel it in the rest of my day. But when I do it with intention and focus, I feel a power. I feel a power and I feel a joy for the rest of my day. It's almost oozing out of my pores. It's the super goo again. It's amazing to me. And I'm usually crying when I'm doing it. See? So there's something there with the super goo. The super goo is in every moment, pretty much.
Oh my gosh. #super goo is happening now. Was it a super goo moment? Then yes.
Then you're on to something. If there's goo involved, then you're on to something.
Good sign. Oh my goodness. Well, it's been like completely delightful to have you on. I just adore you so much. I can't.
Oh, thank you.
So
I adore you, Quinn. I really do.
Aw.
You're the best.
Thank you. Oh my God. I just can't get enough. So in closing, is there any like passing or closing thoughts of bringing it all together, or final message that you'd like to share as kids are getting home?
As kids are getting home, my final message is just be real with yourself and with your family. I'm on a podcast, sweetie.
Perfect.
Just be real. Just be real.
Mommy,
because
there's a terrible thing.
And there's a terrible thing, and it can be handled. It can be handled.
No, Mommy, there's a terrible thing. There's a squished banana in my backpack.
It's super goo.
From the mouth of babes, this is super
So
goo
I have to do
happening
this with my stuff.
on Joyful Living.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you so much, Pam.
Thank
for
you.
being on and sharing your genius and your love and your heart. It's been a gift, and we're just so grateful for you being here.
Thank you so much.
Talk to you soon, everybody. Thank you for listening. If you want to get in touch with Pam, you can go to pambaumeister.com. And again, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode of Joyful Living. And we're cheering you on in your joy practice. So much love to you, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye. And in the end, only love will last.
You've been listening to Joyful Living. If you haven't already done so, be sure to email me at quinn@joyfullivingmovement.com so I can send you our yummy Joyful Living welcome package filled with lots of awesomeness, including access to our private Joyful Living network. I read every email from my listeners and would love to hear from you. Also, be sure to leave a review on iTunes, and most importantly, have a joy-filled day.